Okay, it's 8:30. I'll call this morning's meeting to order. I'm looking for an approval of the agenda. We do have a change, item number 9, because there were, Lori had requested that we pull that budget review for HR.
Move to approve a change.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Whalen to approve the amended agenda, a second by Commissioner Gross. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Citizens to be heard. Is there anyone wishing to speak on anything that's not previously advertised in the agenda? Seeing none, moving into the approval of payment of bills and vouchers. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Campbell
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Wayland. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The minutes from August 14th, 2018 are presented. A motion to approve by Commissioner Gross
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Wayland. The only note that I would have is sometimes we have Stephen and Stephen spelled differently, so I think yours was Steven, and but we just want to clarify the Steves.
We'll do that.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, item number 2 is a budget review for the Historical and Cultural Society. Dr. Kelly Johnson, good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Alrighty, so our budget, you don't have a budget in front of you, sorry. Our budget runs the calendar year, and so I do have a draft that I can send if you want to, but it is very much a preliminary draft. We're asking for just a 1% increase as we typically do. 2019 is an important year in that we'll be dealing with the collection, the Clay County collection of artifacts, and doing a complete comprehensive inventory of every object. And that entails the first time that we will ever touch every object and assess its condition and note its location in the building. And so it's a big project, but we're excited about it, and that's going to be kind of the focus of 2019, is focusing on the collection.
Okay. So as you catalog through these, is the intention just to, one, kind of analyze what condition things are in, or is there any sort of redistributing the collection at some point?
A long-term goal is to see if there's anything to deaccession, if there's anything still on loan that we can send back. Deaccessioning is a very careful process that requires a number of steps and the board approval. And generally then the objects can only go back to, either to go back to the donor or to an appropriate recipient, such as a historical society that it really belongs to better than ours.
Okay. Any further questions?
I mean, I see on our budget, you said there's a different figure than what you got on here, which, I mean, our budget shows a higher, it goes to 2%, and you're only asking for 1%, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, 196, I think ours shows 198.
I believe that some of those are still projections from Lori, so
Okay.
the number that you
That's
provided
2%.
is the correct number.
Okay, very good. All right.
We would love 2%. That'd be lovely.
No, I do have, excuse me, I do have to comment that things are going good at the Historical Society. It's fun meetings and stuff like that they're going to go to, because, I mean, when things go good, they're nice to go to and stuff like that, so.
Anything else? All right. Thank you for all that you do in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Item number 3, the budget review for Lake Agassiz Regional Library. Liz Lynch. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Do you have some handouts here.
Okay.
Thanks, Liz.
Yep. Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to be here this morning. I have two handouts for you. The first one is a glossier, colorful handout for you. This one is our fall series brochure. If you remember, the Lake Agassiz Regional Library is the fortunate recipients of funding from the Legacy Amendment. And so we do receive a little over $100,000 each year to provide programming based on the arts, culture, and heritage of Minnesota. And so we have quite a lineup for this fall. I can tell you that all the community members in our 22 communities that we serve, they really value this programming that we offer. When we read our assessments after the programs that we offer, we just hear that people really, really appreciate these events. As a reminder, the legacy funding that we receive can only be used for programming, and it cannot be used for operating. But it's very much appreciated. So if you are interested, I highly encourage you to visit the Ulen Link site, the Barnesville Public Library, or the Holly Public Library. There's a whole host of events going on in all those locations. Also, we have quite a few going on in Moorhead as well, and if you were to attend an event in Moorhead, we have quite a large group that attends those programs. And if you do go there, you would see that people come from all over Clay County to attend these programs. So we appreciate that legacy funding for sure. The next handout I have for you is our preliminary budget for 2019. And the Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board starts our preliminary budgeting process during the month of April. And when we start our budgeting, and then we finalize it in June. When we start our budgeting process, we have two big unknowns. The two unknowns include our health insurance costs and our funding from the state. And unfortunately, last week we did find out that we will be seeing a 20% increase in our health insurance costs. For a number of years, we have not seen an increase at all. This year we did budget for about a 6 to 8% increase, but still this 22% is quite a hit. So this will go about $35,000 more than we were expecting, which is unfortunate. We still have not heard how much we'll be receiving from the state of Minnesota. We receive money called RLBSS, Regional Library Basic System Support. It is about this time every year that we find out how much we'll be receiving. We have not received those numbers yet. But last year, we were shocked to find out that we were receiving $30,000 more than we had the previous year. This is very different than what we had been seeing, because over the past 10 years, we've only been seeing decreases from the state. We've lost about $350,000 over the past 10 years from the state, and so we were happy to see that we were getting an increase instead of receiving less. We're hoping this trend continues and we continue to see more. We're hoping that will help us with this health insurance increase that we're seeing. But other than that, you'll see that we're asking for an overall 1.5% increase from our signatories. Once we determine the 1.5% increase, we then apply a formula that we use to determine how much we will be asking from each individual signatory. We use a formula based on 10% property value, 10% population, and 80% borrower transactions. And so you'll see that for Clay County, we're asking for an additional $4,685.
Liz, obviously, if you weren't expecting 22% increase in
Yeah.
health insurance, what is your board's thought process as to how to go about figuring that out?
Honestly, I have been in this position for 5 years, and this is the first time something like this has happened. Our board will be meeting the third Thursday of September. We do have reserves that we can use. It will just simply mean that our fund balance shortfall will be larger than expected.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're not necessarily going to add it to next year's budget request from the
For
signatories.
2019,
Correct.
as far as I know.
Not, okay. Questions?
Are you a member of a pool for your health insurance?
We are with Lakes Country Service Co-op. Mhm.
I think a majority of the boards that I'm on are with Lakes Country as well.
Oh, really?
And I've heard several people say, well, we haven't had increases for a long time, and
Mhm.
now we have 22%.
Yeah,
so
we were kind of
you're not-
hoping for an 8% or
Yeah,
12%.
right.
Not really a 22.
Unfortunately, I think that's the unknown reality that so many of us are facing, is health insurance is obviously costing a lot. so. Anything else? Not, I see you have a good series,
Mhm.
some good local authors. Yeah. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right, number 4, James O'Donnell. We have a request for approval to fill a vacancy for a full-time juvenile counselor position. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here requesting to refill a vacated position. I'm a full-time counselor in our secure unit. The position is accounted for in our 2018 budget, and we do project to see a savings between the salary from what the vacated position to the new hire.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Whalen,
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Campbell, and just, I think you said it, but the ability to backfill as well.
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, request to fill a vacancy in LPN for public health detox. Kathy McKay and Troy. Good morning.
Good morning.
We do have the document sheet. Thank you.
Oops, I didn't see it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We recently had a resignation of a full-time LPN, so we are here to request that position to be filled.
Okay, so we are anticipating a savings just under $7,000.
I'll talk about that. We have an internal candidate that was on medical leave, extended medical leave. And so our plan would be to offer it to her, and she's been an LPN in our detox unit for a number of years. So she is on step 5, so we would request that she, of course, return to that salary step.
So the savings won't be quite as...
Correct, the savings will be, because I think it was listed as a starting step 1, but the fact is she will be taking that position, so we won't have quite the savings.
So the gal that was on medical leave, was she replaced too? Then?
Well, that was,
Correct. Yes.
we had, this will be adding her back. We had to fill her position previously because we couldn't hold it for that length of time. It was beyond the 12 weeks, so.
I'll move to approve the request.
We have a motion to approve the request by Commissioner Whalen,
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Haney. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
All right,
Thank you, guys. All right. I think I hear Rhonda walking. Hey, there she is. All right, Rhonda, if you're ready.
On breath?
I heard you.
I can hear you.
I saw you were ahead of schedule. I thought,
Yeah,
oh, I better get going.
no problem. So you have a request for approval to fill a vacancy for social worker in the chemical dependency unit.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Catch your breath.
We had a resignation of one of our social workers who do chemical health, and so I am simply requesting to fill her position. We would post it internally, and if there was internal interest, then I would request approval to backfill.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the request for
Second.
backfill by Commissioner Gross, a second by Commissioner Haney. Any further discussion?
Any questions?
Commissioner Campbell.
So Rhonda, this position also then participates with the drug court?
Yes.
And I see Veterans Court and reintegration. So the chemical dependency evaluations, are they pretty much suggested by the court, or how does that work?
We get referrals in multiple ways. Some folks that just, call our agency, family members that are looking for support for their loved one. We get referrals from probation. The court might order somebody to have an evaluation, and then they come to our office in that way. So, yep, a
So
multitude
it's a variety of ways. then,
Yeah,
okay.
yep, absolutely.
I know that this position doesn't specifically work just with Lakeland, but yesterday at our Lakeland board meeting, it really is quite evident the collaboration that our social workers have with their different departments. And, you talk about when programming kind of feeds off of each other, that is clear that having them part of the equation really benefits our citizens. So it was encouraging to sit and listen to that, so.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, I do see this, as we develop services at the jail for folks when they're, first picked up by law enforcement or even planning for a discharge. I see our chemical health unit becoming more and more involved in that service delivery. So this is an important position for that. I did not mention the budget savings. We will see a little bit of a budget savings. This person has been with us for, I think 7 years, 5 years. So I anticipate even, we may have internal movement, but ultimately we'll be hiring somebody at grade 17, step 1. So we will see some budget savings.
And do you have more than one that deals in this area, or is it?
Yes, we have 4.5 staff that work in the chemical health area. Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
All right, our budget review for technology services, Tim Dent, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Jim.
All right. I don't know if I'll go through every single line item, but I can hit the highlights, and then you can ask me questions on the other ones. So one of the big ones here is there is a $60,000 increase in salaries that was a move from the information services to the technology services budget.
Okay.
So when Mark goes up, you'll see the equal decrease in his. It's just a staff move to our side. I don't know if you have I had made a request for a new position for 2019. I don't know if you have that information. Okay, I don't. Last time we were here, we had talked about maybe the possibility of maybe needing more staff next year, especially for the increase in technology and some of these new facilities. And at that time, we kind of said we would see. Well, we saw. We haven't had any additional staff to the technology services for about 5 or 6 years, and we've been kind of throwing it in there. Our preliminary budget has been cut the last couple times before we even got this far, but the new buildings kind of pushed us over the top. So what I've added to the budget, and we had talked about this at our meeting last week with Steve and Lori, is an additional help desk person to increase our help desk from 3 to 4 people.
So what full-time?
That was a 60, with fringes, it's a 60, or $58,788 increase.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Anything else?
I did put some additional dollars in there for internal services fund for our department. What we have been putting aside for that has not been adequate to keep up with our need to replace equipment.
What's the, maybe you're gonna get to it, but the computer software, you got a, I see you got a $20,000 increase there.
Yes, most of that increase is due to we have a new enterprise agreements contract starting next year with Microsoft. And with all the additional personnel that we've had over the last 3 years, it increases the amount of that contract. That item alone is about $150,000 just for our enterprise agreement. That includes all of our Microsoft Office, our
Licenses then, is that?
yeah, it's all licensing, SQL licensing, our desktop OS licensing, our SharePoint licensing. It's a huge piece of our infrastructure. But that also includes our antivirus and malware security systems, our virtual server software, our PC deployment software, our backup software, our inventory software, and our encryption services too.
Tim, is that billed by the user or number of users at a given time? Is it?
It's number of users.
Okay.
Just to understand your help desk a little bit, even just for information for myself, when you say the help desk, is that just internally people calling you that from different departments calling you, they need some help concerning their computers? Just
Correct.
what our computers aren't working properly or something, or?
Correct, yeah, it's our phone support. They do all the phone support for all the people internally, but they also do all the PC setups, the printer setups, and deployment throughout all the facilities. They're a very, very busy group of people. Our sysadmins help out, when they can, but those people have just been inundated too, so.
Any other questions? All right. Anything else you want to highlight? All right. Well, thank you.
So are we going to, Lori, are you going to adjust our preliminary budget to show that as a new request?
Yeah, it'll be in the new request column.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, budget review, information services, Mark Sloan, good morning.
Good morning. I got new glasses, so hopefully it makes me look more responsible or something. Information services is the sister department to technology services. We share space with them, and we are the folks that handle the value-added data, our websites, our GIS, all those types of things. Earlier in the year, we restructured a little bit. We moved one of our positions out of our department and over to Tim's side because it fit a little better to what they were doing, and that's why you saw that person added to his, and you'll see our budget will have dropped by that much. Our budget's in pretty decent shape. We're able to cover our expenses pretty well. We didn't have any major changes coming up for next year. The only thing I asked for new was to put our GIS technician back. Our GIS technician is traditionally a student we hire over the summer. We gave it up last year when we had, everybody was asked to trim some money, so we dropped that position, and it's only, what, $6,000 is all we're asking for new. Besides that, we're pretty much okay, I think, as far as where our funding is and where our spending is.
Can you remind me again the workload for that GIS tech and?
Okay, so we have, we actually have 3 staff that work in GIS. Myself, we have a GIS specialist, and that position is open right now. We're trying to fill it. That's the person that does all of our property information updates. The GIS technician is usually used for project-specific things. We'll bring them on either to collect data, to clean data, to build map books, things like that. Things that we just, as regular staff, don't ever get a chance to do. So we kind of save up those kind of projects, and then we bring a student in over the summer and have them put together map books or whatever it might happen to be. It's just kind of a nice way for us to add a little more value to some of the data we've got. And it's relatively, inexpensive compared to if we were contracted out.
Right, okay, thank you.
And one other thing I wanted to mention is, Tim's asking for another help desk person. That work spills into our side. The workload up in our office this last 2 months has been pretty intense, and it's been pretty obvious that we need another body, because we just can't keep up with what's coming at us.
Questions?
Mark, I know the last 2 months, you were really involved with the new facilities, and then Tim was as well. How much of that, and that demanded an awful lot of your time, how much of that now, once that it's in place, will be freed up?
Well, from me, a lot. I mean, I've been working full-time on those new projects since about April.
Right.
So that'll give me a chance to get back to doing some of the GIS stuff I need to be doing. Fortunately, at the time, I had a really good GIS specialist that was able to take on a bunch of extra work, but she left us earlier this month, so now stuff's starting to back up. So we're trying to shift course here and try to keep up with our workloads.
Anything else? If not, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work on the extra stuff, too.
You're welcome.
Our next item isn't scheduled for a while. Could we pop through our committee reports? Does that work? Commissioner Campbell?
Sure. Last Tuesday, after our board meeting, we had a PIC meeting, and the major focus of that meeting was the discussion of what's going on with our insurance subcommittee, and what we're looking at for potential changes to offer up for different policy types. We are having an insurance committee meeting today, and I think out of that committee there will come a recommendation for this board, and I can tell you right now that that recommendation is likely to add another policy, and it's a minimum value policy, I believe it's referred to. Darren, am I saying that correctly? And what that would mean is and of course all other policies can remain in place. That's a freebie for us to add. So there's no other changes, but it does offer an employee a policy that pays the full premium with the county contribution. And so I think that could be a really attractive deal. And so I think you'll see that that's going to be, will come out of that meeting as being recommended. And there are a couple of other things that are going to take a little longer to do, and so I think the insurance committee will be working on that into 2019 to make some further recommendations. And then the other issue that we talked about was the planning and zoning department reorganization or whatever, and I think our discussion centered around, as you know, we have temporarily hired an outside agency, and I say temporary very strongly, that it was because while we search for how we want to handle it in the future, this was the best option for us. And with that, I think we're our committee is going to be recommending that we hire, to start off with, an assistant planning and zoning director while we continue with the search, because the workload is going to be there, and the ability to get out more. This is going to be something that will be really worthwhile for us. And so that's going to be forthcoming. I don't know, Stephen, when you have plans to discuss that here, but, and Darren?
Our hope is to have a plan for the board next week.
Okay, but I can tell you that our PIC committee certainly supported, and Commissioner Mojo can probably also touch on that, as she's been more involved with the planning department than I have been. So that's that. And then on Wednesday, I had the Prairie Lake Solid Waste, and that one, we did approve the 2019 budget, and that 2019 budget did see an increase go from $118 tipping fee to $123 tipping fee. And Lori, I think for the purpose of our budget and Kirk's budget, if he hasn't told you, that amount is, for Clay County, will be $295,000 for the year. And we make that in monthly payments, and that is a very small, as a matter of fact, it's down to the $340,000 that I think we paid. Even though the tipping fee went up, Clay County's portion based on ownership is going down, so. And then there were a couple other, there was some facility updates. They did a stack test. The stack test came in before. It was 22,000 pounds, I think it is, and now it was the latest one, it was 28,000, which is really good. That means that we're going to be permitted to sell more steam, and of which they already have the customers for, so that'll be additional revenue coming forward for them. So other than that, that facility is doing much better. That afternoon, I came back to town and had the FM diversion public outreach meeting, and there were several different topics that went on, and there's some new educational videos available on fmdiversion.com, and you have a Twitter feed that also shows, what is a flood and these types of things. So there's really good information for folks if they want to go to fmdiversion.com. And there is a Red River Basin Commission meeting on the 6th at the Marriott in Moorhead, and I think there may or may not be a presentation by the Diversion Authority there. Thursday morning, we had the Clay County Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting, and we got reports from all of our landfill and recycling, and Kirk gave an update as well, and I gave an update on the PERM, which I just talked about, and Brett Skippy Rice and Chase Munson gave a presentation on anaerobic digesters. It's composting for organics, and they're kind of in a research mode whether or not that would be a good fit for Clay County or not. And then Thursday afternoon, then we had the actual FM Diversion Authority meeting. And again, not a lot going on there. We got updates on the core and the DNR EIS studies and they just came out yesterday, and they're up for public review through the 27th. And I believe there's going to be a public meeting put on by the core and the DNR here in Moorhead on September 13th. And I think it's going to be where you can go during the course of the day and review things, and then they're going to give a formal presentation that evening on the 13th of September. And I'm really getting us back to the regular time here with my report.
I appreciate that. That's very lovely.
But I had a lot of things today.
On that though, I think it's important that we have some sort of Clay County representation at that meeting. I know that the fall policy conference is scheduled during that time. I will also be out of town because of the state fair for my child. So I didn't know if one of us were.
Commissioner Moser, I just told Colleen today to cancel my Thursday night reservation in Alexandria, and I will be coming back for that, for sure, to be there for that evening of the 13th. Yep, so I will certainly be there. And I would, no, Stephen, you're going to be in Alexandria too, aren't you? Yeah, okay. All right, and then we did renew our contract with Frederickson and Byron. They're out of Minneapolis. They're helping us with legislative issues and things of that nature regarding the diversion authority. And let's see, I believe that concludes my reports.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Haney?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On Tuesday, I attended the Adult Mental Health Local Advisory Committee for Clay County, and we had a discussion about the summer outreach program. There was less people that were involved in it this year, and we got reports from consumers and providers of mental health. And then we had a breakout workshop on mental health, and we completed a survey to determine whether the mental health needs are being met in Clay County. And we will have the completed surveys, and the results will be discussed at the next meeting. Then on on Wednesday, along with Lori Johnson, I attended the Flood Finance Committee for the flood diversion. And as Commissioner Campbell referenced, we were kind of all dancing around the soon-to-be released EIS, which he just referenced. It's going to come out on the 13th or whatever.
It's out.
It's out, okay.
It is out.
Yeah, we didn't know that at that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And that was pretty much it.
Okay, Commissioner Gross?
Other than fielding some calls on the SES program, I attended the drug court, which was another successful graduation there from one of the people there. And I really got to compliment Michelle Lawson on running a good court proceedings there.
I just want to, they always seem to have that on that day when I have both my Prairie Lakes and the diversion outreach, and I never get to go to those, but I'm glad that, Frank, you are able to make it for us. Because
yeah, it's, I really enjoy it. I mean, it's a good ceremony, I don't know, ceremony, call it that, I guess, you know, to see what that program does there, to bring another successful person back out into the, not back out there, they're out there all the time, I mean, but it's just nice to see that court really being a successful program.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Gross. Commissioner Whalen?
I had Prairie Lakes and the Diversion Authority last week, and Commissioner Campbell already reported on those. Did you mention we met with Joe Razzo yesterday?
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, we had Kevin and Steve and I met with Joe Razzo, the new president of the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC yesterday, and we had a good meeting with him. He's just getting started in his job, but he's a high-energy guy. I think there'll be a lot of positive things going on there, and so one thing he did mention is he wants the opportunity to meet with each of the Clay County commissioners at some time in the near future. So Steve will probably be setting something up for you sometime in the future after they coordinate that. So that was it for me.
Okay, thank you. Last week I also attended the PIC meeting. Commissioner Campbell covered that quite well. I just will reiterate, while I feel we're in a great spot with that contracted services, I know that the need is there to get, one, the administrative assistant position filled, and then this new assistant technician position, so to speak. So otherwise, we also kind of talked about compensation study, and I know that Darren sent out what we had done in years prior, but it's been a significant amount of time, so it's probably something that we should look at doing again. That evening, we had the the Planning Commission meeting, and we just had one item up for discussion. We had, about a year ago, talked about the ordinance discussion on wind generators and solar farms. I'd let you know that we were going to be talking about that. So the board did decide that they'd like to pick up where we left off. We have a subcommittee meeting scheduled for later on this week on that, and we also had a presentation from a company that gave us a sample of what a pre-application would look like. And I would say time is of the essence. There are several Clay County applications that are in a holding pattern. Citizens have applied for these, and because we need to finish this up, they're waiting for our decision on that. So I'll let you know as I find out more. I had several meetings last week in regards to the STS programming, which is why I requested that it be on our schedule for today. Several different communities have reached out to talk about the benefit of what that service offers in the county, so we'll continue that discussion in a little bit. Last week I also attended the Clay County, or the Lakes and Prairies meeting. We had that at Head Start. Just a number for you, there are currently 251 kids enrolled in Clay County Head Start. There's a wait list of 59, and those are just kids that have been allowed or identified as family budget qualifiers. Sometimes if they don't have enough to offer spots to kids that are under the budget item, they'll open it up, but this is just kids that have identified need for that. There's a federal grant that we approved applying for that is item of note. It's $115,000 from the National Council on Aging. What they're hoping to do with that is Dale Rowley's senior outreach programming. They would hope to use that to add another position to outreach seniors in Clay and Wilkin County. Obviously, Commissioner Wayland is on Land of the Dancing Sky, and I think you've talked a little bit about what benefit that could be, but there definitely is a need, and so I think we are hopeful that we could secure that grant. And the group work camp was a success. There was 260 kids that worked, a total of 8,612 labor hours, so that's something that is beneficial. And then Friday and yesterday I had meetings with Soil and Water in regards to our pollinator habitat out in Crestwood. There is a septic issue that we need to address, and I think that between Bruce and Steve we'll look back and see who contracted the project before, and if that wasn't done, we need to get that remedied. So I don't know if you want to follow up with that, Steve, but we'll need to contract with someone to get that hole filled. And then the process can move forward, moving the rest of the debris out there. Yesterday, I also attended the Lakeland Mental Health meeting, and as I referenced, the collaboration between their employees and our social services is really beneficial. It's also great to see that the work that we did with our behavioral health committee, they've really set the wheels in motion in terms of what staffing they will be hiring to use the opportunity fund dollars that we've set aside for that staffing. So it's really part of the discussion. They understand that it's a fluid position, and the need will tweak what needs will be as we get people moved into the new correctional facility, but also the discussion on not only behavioral health services, but how will the opioid crisis play into what our needs will be in terms of chemical health issues and looking forward. So I was happy to hear that they're working hard on that, and we did hear from all the MORAD supervisors. They really do have a lot of new cases and new patients that they're seeing, and clearly, unfortunately, the need is out there. The other thing that I will note that we did talk about surveys, and while Clay County or Moorhead has struggled in terms of access times, upwards of 20 days sometimes, it's great to see that the public understands that Lakeland is doing the best that they can with the time allowed. So the surveys reflected really positively on the Moorhead site, which is good. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. On last Tuesday, I attended the PIC meeting that's been covered in detail. I also met with Ben Olson from Hometown Planning on a number of issues. I also stayed and participated in the Board of Adjustments and the Planning Commission that evening. I spent a number of hours out at motor vehicle on Tuesday just to watch the operations. On Wednesday, I participated in the Solid Waste Advisory Board, which Commissioner Campbell covered. Lori and I had a number of budget issues. We're hoping to wrap up here in the next week with our departments, going through those. On that afternoon, we hosted a meeting with the STS program that we'll be discussing here shortly. Dealt with Darren on a personnel matter that afternoon. On Monday, we participated in new employee orientation and also met with Joe Razzle. That concludes my report.
All right. Anyone else have reports? If not, I know we're waiting on some. Pardon?
Can we take a break?
Yep, we're waiting on some people, so let's take a 10-minute break, or 5, and see if
How long?
everyone comes, I guess.
Darren. You
Pardon?
haven't done Darren, is that way, Brooke?
That's we,
Oh, that's right, we can't. say
Okay.
that. Sorry.
let's take a break, thanks. Well, I'll call the meeting back in session. I appreciate everyone showing up for this. This is something that I had asked to have on the agenda to continue discussion regarding the funding of the STS program. We have Janelle Cheney here, Julie Savat, Steve Lansom. We also have some crew leaders and some supporters, so whoever you want up here. Mark, you want to? Good morning.
Good morning.
And full disclosure, I know we've talked about this, but as I said, often I don't get calls on stuff, and so when I get a multitude of calls and concerned, both citizens but also other city leaders, it's my obligation to bring this back up for discussion. So I don't know who we want to kick it off.
Well,
Julie?
Sure. First of all, last week I spoke to the board about our budget, and I made the comment that most of the work of STS is done out of county. That I misspoke. Most of it's done in Clay County,
Okay.
so I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
thanks for that clarification.
But, so the whole conversation with the STS came up when the correctional facility was told, okay, you need to hire 16 by the Department of Corrections. And I was tasked by the PIC committee to figure out how to fund those
Right.
additional positions.
Yep.
And quite frankly, the only 2 positions we have for the jail that are not mandated by the state would be work detail and STS. Now, the STS program isn't my employee, it's just we pay $65,000 out of our budget. Well, that happens to be the equivalent of 1 full-time officer for me.
Right.
So it was my recommendation at that time that if we have to cut anything, it would have to come from that line item.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought we could, continue the services we have been providing the county, that STS was doing, and our work detail. And we can do that. For the last 2 summers, really, there's only been 1 work crew out there, and it's been STS because we've pulled our work detail officer this summer for the whole projects we have on the county, and then last summer there was a medical issue. So the services we are projecting to continue in 2019 would be what they've had the last 2 years. But if you wanted to continue the services that they had prior to 2017, you do need the 2 members.
Right.
STS offers great value to the county, there's no doubt about it, it's a great program.
Right.
The work they're doing greatly offsets the amount of money we're paying for that. And I've talked to Monty, our work detail officer, he said there's plenty of work out there for 2 crews, especially in the summertime. But again, I was tasked to
Right.
come up with the money,
completely
and
understand
so
that.
I based it on that. Work detail can continue with STS. We can take those members out with our work crew, and they can go to the sites, and they can do a lot of community stuff. But they also can do work in the jail, which would offset costs for us hiring additional maintenance staff because they can do laundry, cleaning our floors, routine maintenance and things like that. So there's some cost savings there for the county, but in the end, STS is a great program. If you can find the money for it, I think everybody would be happy for it because, you can't replace that.
Right.
So.
Janelle?
I would echo what Julie said. I think that the 2 programs work very collaboratively. They talk to each other so that they're not overlapping in services in the community and that they are attentive to the needs in the community. I think that they speak well amongst each other to talk about what they each can do with their crew and making sure that if there's a need out there that either one of the crews is able to attend to it. I know that they've worked side by side with their crews as well, and so I do believe that Clay County, the size of it is definitely both programs are needed to maintain the services and what's provided in the community. I think that both of them speak well to that restorative justice piece, working side by side with individuals and really teaching those skills and hoping that they take that forward as far as being employable further in the communities that we all live in. So I believe that our program, I did put together a packet. I know that you guys have spoken in the past, and I just felt this was an opportunity to kind of highlight some of the benefits of an STS program. The first couple of pages talk about the state STS program overall in general, and I think Julie kind of highlighted about the market value really doesn't supersedes what Clay County or any county invests in the program at $65,000. The project values that have been completed in many counties, but Clay County as well, far exceed that. And so if I just kind of outlined the state stuff, and then within this program, it also highlights the value of having the Department of Corrections does oversee the program itself. So you have a supervisor that oversees the program, the participants, those kind of things. The equipment that comes with it is also significant value. We have we have a 11-passenger van, several trailers. If we needed different equipment, we could easily access that from other STS crews across the state to meet the needs of this county. The power tools that are available. Our staff do have mandatory training yearly that relates to safety training. They go to Camp Ripley once a year. They do chainsaw training and all of those other safety things that come into play that are really important when you're managing a crew of 5 individuals that may not be skilled with power tools and really need to enhance that safety piece of it. Maintenance costs, I know for us, Mark contacts me at least once a month about something that's broken down or something that needs replacing, and he has the ability to go purchase new equipment, whether it's a lawnmower, weed whacker, those kind of things, so that projects can continue and be done. Liability is also a huge thing. I know we've had some crews doing some stuff on campus. I know of one recently that there was an injury and the claims made and just the processing of that. The Department of Corrections does oversee that and manages that and follows up with those liability issues as well.
Can we also talk a little bit of, obviously, there has to be money to fund this, but the other side of it is that these are a demographic of people that have fines and that don't necessarily have the means to pay off their fines. And so while it may be minimal, we're also, this is a way for them to pay off their fines, correct?
Correct, yep. People can either be ordered onto STS or the work detail crew to pay off their fines or fees, some fees, and then also jail time. Some judges order STS in lieu of jail days. And that's a really important piece of that. The fines per se, I mean, I think it gives people a sense of completion. They feel like, okay, I went and worked that off and I feel like I can move forward now. I don't have that lingering over my head. As far as fines and fees, if those go unpaid, those aren't something that we would bring them back into court and sanction them with jail time. However, when they don't pay those, they go to collections. And when they go to collections, then the state, once they do pay, it goes to revenue recapture. And if they don't pay, then when they think that they're going to get a tax return back, instead they get a notice saying that your funds were recouped and they went to Clay County. There is a state fee assessed for that, and so not all of that will come back to the county. So it is nice that they have that sense of ability to be accountable and follow through with something and see it to the end and be able to put that behind them and not lead to bad credit and those kind of things.
Right.
And I will offer that probation, if someone's on supervision, that is one of the things that we offer to individuals that are on supervision is if they attend to all of their obligations to include fines and fees, paying those off, they are eligible for an early discharge. And so we do see people want to be discharged from the court sooner, and they try to get those things accomplished. And this is one opportunity that they're afforded to be able to do that.
Mark, thanks for what you do in the community, and I know that I've had discussions with you about what your crew does, but for those of you that don't know, this is Mark Dibble, crew leader extraordinaire. Do you have anything else to add?
As far as getting everything done this summer, I've had to turn down quite a bit of stuff. They're asking for money, they know that it's gonna be tied up for a while, but, even out at Rolla this year, I know money started last Friday, then he would do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Because I had to do potato days, and so I'm doing 3 days out there now. So it's cut in half, they're not getting as much done as, and then as far as, I've got some paintings, stuff that people have called for, just stuff in the small towns I've been saying, no, I can't get to it. So it has impacted the county as far as having enough resources out there to get stuff done.
Madam Chair, too, I should see him know, and I don't believe Ms. Cheney covered it. In the STS or STS crew, it also addresses a population that won't be able to be served in the jail. The community members who aren't incarcerated are also able to participate in the program and the fine reductions.
So the difference between the two would be that the work detail crew isolates to dealing with those that are in custody. So they can take out anybody in custody, and then those that are in custody, if they can't come out because there's a warrant, they can also do in-house, so they can tend to their needs. This program allows us to, those people that are placed on supervision that are maintained in the community, they can also go on crew, and those in custody and those in the community can work together on the crew. And so if we don't have an STS crew, our probation office would look to set those up as individual sites, more so. And we would need to track that and then submit the information that typically is done through our crew to court administration as to who has completed that.
Okay. So currently, looking at your info sheet, the county contribution is 75% and the state's 25%, correct?
And that's a general, that's what they indicate, that's an average across the state. And so if you take into consideration seniority, salaries,
Right.
there's going to be a difference. And so,
But maybe it was, I heard something wrong earlier, that 25% roughly is not going away, correct? I mean, that wasn't part of the reason we,
if it's an all or nothing. So if Clay County wishes to have an STS, this STS program, then we continue as is, and the contract is 75/25.
okay, that was my question. I don't know if I misheard that wrong, but I thought that was in jeopardy of going away even if we continued it. So it's, okay.
No,
That-
as long as the counties wish to continue with contracts, the state likes to see that and would support that.
Okay.
I did offer, the last time when I think when we were going over the budget, that if a county chooses to withdraw from a contract, that the state would not be in a position to re-engage with a new contract in the future, because they will have changed their budgets
Right.
and not
Yep.
put that in through their request through legislature.
Okay. Commissioner Campbell.
Mark, the work that you do, the STS program also goes out to other counties at times, is that correct? That you oversee? Can you tell me what percentage, or give me some sort of an idea of what percentage of your work is done in Clay County?
85%, I think they figured 15. Bonnie came up with the number 15%. And
15% is out of county?
yeah, is that right?
No, I think what you're referencing is 15% is state. That would be what you see as the DNR
Yeah.
Oh.
stuff. But out of county, I think.
Out of
what
county
is-
is like, when Wadena had their tornado, when Holly had their storm, and Newlands had their storm, and I'm one of the guys in the county that's chainsaw certified, so.
Okay, I guess where I'm going with my question is if we're if we're contributing 75% county funds, I would want to make sure that we're getting 75%
Oh, yeah, you're getting
of the
way
work.
more than 75.
Okay, I just want that on record, that's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that is there, right? So you're saying in reality, it's more like 85% of your work detail is done on projects and benefits for Clay County.
And not only that, the other STS crews come here and help us during emergencies, so we're getting it back that way as well.
Okay.
When we had our flooding,
Yeah.
we had crews from all
Oh,
over
yeah.
coming to help us,
Yeah.
so it's a mutual aid situation.
Would that stop then, that STS program from other counties? When you say we get help?
I still think they would come and help us. I think they do.
I believe they would,
I
too.
really do.
I
Also,
think they would too.
also though, the majority, there's only maybe 1 or 2 counties in the state that don't have an STS program. I mean, so,
There's counties that don't have a jail that have an STS.
I just, I mean, I don't know, I was under the impression this whole program was gonna continue the way it was, when it was presented to us when we voted on it.
Right.
And aside from what they do, I just think that image that we project out there in the communities, when they see that our prisoners are working, I mean, that they're not just locked up somewhere, I think that is so important that we continue that image out there, aside from what they do, it's just, that image we project is so important, I think, so. Somehow or other, we gotta continue this program, I mean, I guess I want some sort of assurance that we're gonna keep it up, I don't know whether that was the plan or not.
Well, our work detail will keep up the best they can with those community projects, and it'll be similar to what the communities received the last 2 years. But prior to that, they had better service because there was 2 crew leaders out there working in our community, and there was a better presence, and we're gonna do the best we can, but it'll be the same as what they had this year and last year. It won't be as good as it used to be.
If I can, Madam Chair, I want to go back to some important statistics here, and this is for the public's information. We're total benefit dollars that the STS labor program provides to Clay County is almost $3.4 million.
And I think what you're looking at is the state.
Oh, that's the state?
Yeah.
Okay. So what portion of that is Clay County?
And so I think if you look at one of the reports that I ran at the very end, I think it will talk about the market value for Clay County.
I know when Mike used to run this, we used to get those updates every year on local benefits in terms of,
well, even if you just look from January 1st to June 30th, the total number of hours worked is 4,256 hours
In Clay County.
in Clay
Yeah.
County. And do you have what do you figure, $7 an hour or?
152,000 is what it says.
Yeah, if you look at this page, it kind of isolates out Clay County January. I ran this report January through June, but the last report you should have received, I submitted April. And it gave some of these quarterly reports. But for the purpose of this meeting, I just ran January to June 30th.
yeah, so that was 152,000 for 6 months?
352 for 6 months.
Oh, I got 152 and you're saying 350.
Well, because it's January 1st through June 30th.
Yeah, it's 152.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be, if that was to go for the year, you'd be looking at 300,000.
Right.
So that's man hours or woman hours, depending on who's working, that are out in the community providing, and that's at a very low hourly rate too.
Yes, recently
I mean,
it was
if
raised to
you-
11.
Yeah, but if you were to have that work done, in the community by somebody other than the STS program, you're not getting that done for $7 to $10 an hour.
Correct.
Right? So the numbers are even, the benefit is really even bigger if you were to take the average
Right.
wage that goes on in the community.
I guess that's part of why I wanted to talk about this, is I know we're gonna have to figure out where the money's coming to fund it. But when I have the Hollies and the Barnesvilles and the Feltons and the Eulins of the world calling saying, you know, if you eliminate this, this work has to be done somewhere, and we're gonna end up having to pay for it anyway. And so the reality is, there's work that needs to be done. It's just how best our dollars allocated to get it done. And from my perspective, if we're going to have a roughly 25% match from the state on work that needs to be done, I have a hard time eliminating a program that could work collaboratively with our county program existing, specifically when we're building a new facility that's going to, obviously our crime rates have gone up, unfortunately, we have to deal with that. But in a time when this board has made big strides to focus on the mental health and well-being of people, how do we eliminate recidivism? It seems counterproductive to eliminate something like this. And you know, I would be happy to help us look at how we can fund something going forward, but from this one person, you know, I think that we need to have the county and the state STS.
When
Commissioner Gross.
Excuse me, when you pick people to go out on this crew, are they picked from the ones that are here in Clay County?
Yes, they have to be sentenced and they have to be authorized by the
Okay,
court.
so now we're gonna have about double the amount of prisoners here.
We will, yep.
So we should have more to pick from, or?
Well, we tend to keep the ones that qualify for the program here in Clay County. We don't tend to ship them out because they're sentenced, so.
Oh, so
if
they have
there's-
to qualify.
See, they have to be low-risk offenders, and so they would be housed in our annex if they're male. And we have plenty of space in our minimum security because unfortunately, we don't have a lot of minimum security sentenced inmates in custody, so.
Okay.
But the benefit for us to expand the program, and we can, when we move to the new facility, is we can take people who maybe are not necessarily qualified to be on the outside, but then we can utilize those particular participants in the jail to get other stuff done. So we can offer STS in-house more than we have in the past. But there is a need out there.
Well, I just want to, when I heard about, I personally have not been getting calls regarding this, but Commissioner Mojo mentioned to me, and I know Commissioner Gross has reported on it a couple times here that calls have been coming in, and our board, since I've been on this board, and I'm the oldest one of the group here, but we've always fully supported this project. And in going through the PIC committee, and Julie talking about the issues that you raised, you had a tough time dealing with what you were going through, and so you had to do what you felt is right. I think we need to put this money back in the budget and make it work. And Mark, I communicated with you just by sending you a message asking you to come here. And again, I go back to when Mike was doing this, I would encourage you to maybe, if we get this to work, which I think we will, for you to come forward and as Commissioner Gross said, the public sees this stuff out there and they see these people working, and that makes a difference. And it's making a difference in every small community that we have here, and it makes a difference whether you're doing work for Moorhead Youth Hockey or whatever it may be, but those are all high-value dollars that are going in for work that might not otherwise be done. So I too, I encouraged Commissioner Mojo when she talked to me that let's get this on the agenda and let's get it resolved. And
Excuse me. But the question would come up, if we continue this program, do we do it through the state or through the county? I mean, if you're going to throw, what is it, $65,000 that we took out or took from the program?
Well, my answer to that is we're getting 25% paid for by the state, and why not take advantage of that? If we did it locally, the person that you're going to still have them fall probably within the same wage scale. that you would have if it was just county. And, you know, and I think Mark's been a state employee. I just think we're getting more bang for our buck by teaming up on it than doing it all on our own.
Well, that's the way it sounded to me when I was listening to Janelle here, that they have equipment and stuff like that we probably have to, I don't know,
We have
if
our
we do
own.
it, we have our own, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
For that crew.
For our work crew, yeah.
So you would have a van, you have
We have all that.
chainsaws?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I would also offer, Frank, you talked earlier about the program and what it brings to the participants in it, and I just want to highlight that as well. It's nice that Clay County has some rehabilitative programming available in the community, not just punitive. I mean, we can certainly look to have other options available, but this is one program that offers rehabilitation moving forward. And so I think from our perspective, we're just looking at how could we move forward with both. And I feel that there's a need for both, and how we could find the funds or work towards that is kind of our perspective.
Any other comments? I know there's some people here that probably came for this discussion item. Do any of you have anything? You're welcome to come up and speak in the microphone. Do you have any perspective to offer? Good morning. Just if you would state your name, please.
Sure. My name's Paul Thompson. I actually work for the City of Holly, and we're one of the beneficiaries of Mark and his crew. And just as you guys were talking about, there's a lot of things that they help us with that obviously time and dollar we wouldn't get done if it wasn't for Mark and his crew. They've been really good about helping us out when we need them. Monty's crew also, they've been out in town too, so we really appreciate all the help we get. And it wouldn't be so good for us if they weren't there able to help us, because we really appreciate the benefit we get. They'll come and help with anything we've got, really. And like you mentioned, just like the commissioner mentioned, just the people that see the other people out working notice, and all the benefit we get from that, and the exposure that you guys get from that too is well worth the effort. So we for sure would like to see it continue, and it's a benefit for the county as far as the City Hall is concerned. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul? Thank you. All right. Good morning.
Morning, my name is Charlie Johnson. I represent the city of Hitterdal in other aspects. I'm part of Salem Lutheran Church. I'm part of the Go-Getters in town. And as a part-time city employee of a little town of 200 people, their impact on our community is tremendous. With our community center, with our events that we have, Hitterfest. I'm also the fire chief in town, so helping with those things as far as in the fire hall at the Go-Getters. That's a little place where everybody has coffee in the morning. They've helped with the painting and things in those community buildings. So their impact on our community has been significant. And also, as indicated earlier, that as these people interact with the people in our community, as they sit in level gravestones at Salem Lutheran Church, and they're with some of those elders, that impact and that interaction, I think, is very valuable.
Yep.
So those are the elders in we're an older community, so seeing these inmates coming out and contributing significantly to the community, I think is a very positive thing for the county. It's also very positive things for the people that live in our community, and also very positive for the people that come out. So when they come out, we really appreciate their presence, and we really appreciate what Monty and Mark have done to the program and to helping our community.
Thank you, Charlie. Any further questions for Charlie? Thank you for your insight. Good morning.
Good morning. Scott Lofgren, City of Glendon. I go back with the STS crew a little over 24 years back when Steve Dorff was running the show, and it's incredible what this program has done for the City of Glendon. We don't have a very big crew, and there's a lot of things that would go undone. I actually get calls from residents asking when they're coming back, because they're such a big impact when they do show up, community center, the parks, the different things. In the spring for the cleanup, they do an excellent job. Never had an issue, never had a bad incident or anything with this crew. Excellent work, and hope it continues.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Well, I really appreciate the discussion. In the time that I've been on this board, I don't believe we've ever had representatives from 3 cities here to advocate for programming. And as someone who's elected by the community, I definitely feel that I'm hearing that this is something that people want. And so I don't know, I think you heard where Commissioner Campbell and I are on this. I know Commissioner Gross is.
Well, I have to add that, we got 3 cities here, and the city of Dilworth, they were gonna be here too, but they had another commitment this morning, they couldn't be here, but they're also in favor. But I guess what I gotta understand, are we gonna continue this program for these cities? That's what we have to do here. We don't want to drop anything of that. So we have to decide, is it better to the county or is it better to the state? And I think Commissioner Campbell's already said that, we probably got some money coming from the state that we could utilize. Did we make a mistake by taking that out of the program and putting it into our program? So I think that's a decision we have to look at.
I think we should move forward, put this back in a line item in your budget, Julie. Let's see how it all shakes out. And we don't do a final budget till December. Hopefully, Mark, for you, hopefully we can have answers for you sooner than that. But certainly let's get it included in the preliminary budget anyway, I think is important for us to do. It's an investment, kind of like our volunteer driver program that we have in Clay County. Now granted, some of the stuff the SDS people do, I don't know that I could compare that to voluntary, but it still is an options for them to do some work at a level. And our voluntary driver program, people get paid, but they get paid very little. And the benefit is for the public and for all of our communities and for the people that's there. So we need to fix this, and to me it's a no-brainer that we get this back in.
Anything else?
Well, I guess one more comment. I don't think we need to fix anything. We just need to continue it.
Right. Well,
but we eliminated it, so we have to fix it.
Yeah, we need to fix it.
The reality is we didn't eliminate the county piece. We just thought we could fulfill more with that, but we did for next year eliminate the state STS piece. And so, I think we need to fix it. Yes, Janelle.
The county did provide a written notice to the state indicating that they would withdraw from the contract. Is it okay if I rescind that for now, knowing that the county, the only obligation is to provide a 30-day notice at any time within the contract period. So at any time, the county can give a 30-day notice to withdraw. But I think it will be important to withdraw the written notice so that the state doesn't move forward on their end.
Agreed.
And we don't need that timely to say that we may still be interested.
Madam Chair, I would move that we request that be withdrawn.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campbell to rescind the previous letter, and a second by Commissioner Wayland. Anything else? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Anything else? Just to reiterate, I know Commissioner Campbell said this. I know we looked at this, and I appreciate the work that you did within your budget, but sometimes we have to tweak it to make it right in the end. And so we'll continue the discussion later, but thank you for all of you for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work. Do we have anything else? If not, we are adjourned.